asking yourself, why the GR Corolla? Well, I'm kind of asking myself that too. The reason for me, really why I strayed away from Ford, is because Ford has nothing that fits this demographic. I wanted something that was going to be all-wheel drive. I wanted something that was going to be small, light, and nimble. I really wanted a hatchback with a manual transmission, which would have been the Focus RS. However, at $36,000 on an average for a used RS with at least 40 to 50,000 miles, when the car brand new was 42, I couldn't really justify that. However, when we get to the point where I start talking to you guys about how much this thing costs, you might be wondering why I didn't go with the RS. So in looking for something that was going to be all-wheel drive and manual, it kind of came down to the GR Corolla, the RS, which, like I said, is very high price within this bracket, the Golf, and then the Subaru WRX. Now, I was a big fan of the WRX. I like the hatch look of the early 2000s, 2010s, but now everything is just sedan style, and I really didn't want a sedan. And the other thing too that I worry about is the Subaru in general. I don't know anybody that has used one of these and modified them and taken them to the track that hasn't had some issues with that boxer engine. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe I wouldn't have, or there might be plenty of people out there who haven't had that problem. But when buying a new car to go out and start racing, that's not something I really wanted to have to deal with. With the Golf, that thing, when I was looking at them, they were all starting around 52. And maybe it was because I was looking at the wrong trims or too high of a trim, but I don't know. It was a lot of money for that Golf. And then this, which is not exactly on the cheap side. There's a few things that make this car actually kind of good. And I'm starting to learn those things over the last, 12 hours that I've owned this car. Picked it up last night with 37 miles on it. We've been driving around a little bit trying to test the thing out before we started filming, but as of right now, I have 117 miles on this vehicle. So I'm learning everything as we go along, and there's a few things here that I really like. Like, you have a section here where you can monitor your temps and everything like I try to on the RTR Spec 2. You can also see things like your boost gauge, so it'll tell you how much boost that you're producing. I really like this G-force meter that is here. So not only does it give you the G-forces similar to what we see on the RTR Spec 2 or the Ford Mustang, but it'll also tell you your inputs. So it'll tell us how much we're turning left, how much we're turning right, how much we're applying our brake, or how much we're applying our accelerator. So it's kind of cool to be able to log all of that stuff. Right now, we've just kind of been cruising around in the vehicle how it is when you just hop in it from the dealership. So right now we have a 60-40 split for the power for front rear. We have it in normal mode. We're just cruising along. But there are a few dials and switches down here that make the GR Corolla more Gazoo racing than Corolla. Now allow me to reintroduce You can also hear a little bit more of the blow-off valve as you start going through this thing, and it's pretty darn sick. It's one of these vehicles that made me really like hatchbacks. I gotta say, when I first hopped into it, I was so used to driving around in a 750 horsepower Mustang that made me say that, there's not a whole lot of good going on here. But once you start putting it into the right modes, oh my God, this car is so much fun. And the spirit of the RS kind of lives in this vehicle, where it's all-wheel drive, small, hatchback, very nimble, point and shoot kind of car. And since I didn't have the ability to get one of those in a condition I liked or at a price point I wanted, this is, I gotta say, a very good suitable replacement, to the point where I don't really feel like I betrayed the blue oval. Okay, so by now you're asking yourself, Jordan, stop with all the talking. We understand it, you like the car, it's a cool car. What we really wanna know is, how much did you spend on that? Well, I have the window sticker right here. This here is from the Toyota dealership that I got it from, $41,515 before any of the options. So there's about $982 in options on here, which brought the total up to $42,492. Well then, of course, the dealer had their own add-ons, which came out to be about another $1,895, which then brought our total up to $44,392. The dealer also had an additional $5,000 on here for markup because it's a rare vehicle and it's not easy to get everywhere else. But I went ahead and after about 2 hours of back and forth on whether or not I was going to get the car, they went ahead and waived it. But still, after taxes, title and license, I spent $50,000 on a Toyota Corolla. Let that sink in. My son is behind this camera and he is now hearing how much I spent on this Corolla for the very first time. And I now believe his father is an embarrassment to him. So to put all of that in perspective, $50,000 for this vehicle. I spent out the door about $62,000 on my Ford Raptor. On the Mustang RTR Spec 5 10th anniversary that I have, granted, after everything was all said and done with that, like we've already discussed in previous videos, that thing is about $110,000. But before it was built into the RTR Spec 5 10th anniversary, it started off as a Mustang GT Premium with Recaros and dual climate controls and all the fancy bits. That cost me $52,000. So we gotta ask ourselves, do we really feel that this car is worth $50,000?
So now that I've had a little time to reflect on that question, I've had the car now for 2 weeks since I filmed the original portion of this video. I gotta say, I do think that it's worth it. I filmed some stuff that you guys will get to see coming up here in the next couple of weeks that really changed my mind about this car. It's fantastic. Some other things too that are in here that I think are worthy of note. Your driving modes. You have, eco mode if you want to save on some gas, normal mode for just regular driving, and then you also have a sport mode, which makes everything a little bit more sensitive. You can change it from 60-40 front rear bias to 30-70 front rear, and then by pushing the track button you can give it an even 50-50 power distribution to front and rear. And when you get out on track, that kind of control really means a lot. It doesn't matter if you're on tarmac, if you're out in the streets, if you're in the corners, or if you're out playing around in the dirt. So at this point in time, I kind of think this is worth it. It's given me a whole new appreciation for these hot hatches, and who knows, maybe we'll see where this thing will take us, and maybe we can build it up together. But to find out, make sure you guys leave a comment down below. Let me know anything else you want me to highlight in this vehicle. Let me know what you want to see us do with this. I bought this to create content for us so we can have a little bit of fun. And it's not just the Mustang RTR, which is a fantastic car, but I want to have a little bit of diversity. So after you're done leaving that comment, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Let me know you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit those bell notifications so you don't miss anything else from myself or from the boys who will be making trips back into my videos. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I think I might start pulling a couple of these stickers off. Peace.